Rising insecurity, the House of Representatives says it will prioritize voting on constitutional amendments, seeking to establish state police this week. Deputy Speaker and Chairman of the House Committee on Constitution Review, Benjamin Kalu, announced the decision during a media party briefing after the plenary.
Moving on, suspected bandits have launched an attack in Kogi State, killing the vice principal of government secondary school alongside 2 other residents in the Uluke community of Kaba Bunu local government area. The 3 victims were identified as Gani Anifoshe, the vice principal of the school, Jacob Al-Hassan, aged 70, and Sunday Ayele, aged 6. The rising attacks in schools have prompted the Edo State government to order immediate closure of 3 secondary schools in Akoko Edo local government area following intelligence reports of a planned kidnap attack targeting students. This is even as there was pandemonium in Minna, the Niger State capital, yesterday as parents stormed schools to withdraw their children amid rumors of terrorist invasion of the city. While in Zamfara State, a joint security team repelled an attack and neutralized 6 bandits in Kanoma district of Maru local government area.
In politics, the national leader of the Nigeria Democratic Congress, Senator Seriake Dixon, has debunked reports that Peter Obi and Kwankwaso paid to become the party's consensus candidate, noting that the allegations of transactional politics in the NDC are false. He made the statement on Arise News Primetime, also addressing the issue of conflict arising from NDC's primary elections. Dixon says that there is no dispute and that the list of winners will soon be submitted to the regulator, INEC, in due course. Meanwhile, the People's Redemption Party is promising not to deviate from its core ideology of promoting social justice. PRP officials made this known in Abuja while presenting certificates of return to its presidential candidate, Donald Duke, and 420 candidates spread across the country. And last on politics, the organized labor and pro-democracy advocates on Wednesday joined forces with Accord Party presidential candidate Dr. Gbenga Olawepo Hashim as the Movement for Democratic Renewal, MDR, was formally launched. The coalition aims to strengthen democratic institutions and promote good governance in Nigeria.
Well, moving on, over 200 Nigerians are set to arrive in the Nigeria's commercial capital, Lagos, today. Minister of State for Foreign Affairs, Ambassador Shola Enikonolaye, will this morning receive the Nigerians evacuated from South Africa following recent xenophobic attacks in the country. In a statement signed by spokesperson of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Kimiebi Imomotimi Ebienfa, yesterday, the minister will represent the federal government in receiving the returnees at the Murtala Mohammed International Airport, Lagos. All right, we will be having our correspondent who is on ground at the Murtala Mohammed International Airport to bring us live reports of what's going on ground. I believe we've been having a sort of a countdown, and we mentioned yesterday that today the first set of evacuees will be arriving here on their own home soil from South Africa following xenophobic attacks. We've also highlighted the action taken by the federal government to protect the interests of Nigerian citizens who have found themselves in very difficult situations and circumstances abroad. Let me touch on this story very quickly before I move on to the other stories this morning. A quick comment on this, and that is a lot of people say that, oh, come back home. What are you doing in the country where they are, you're being attacked, you're being, xenophobic attacks are against you? But there are lots of other things to consider. If you speak to some of these people who are leaving South Africa, many of them went there for legitimate business and are not illegal migrants, as some people say. Not all of them are illegal migrants. And they've built community there. Some of them have married and, inculcated the culture of the South African people or the communities where they live. So it's not so easy to say just up and leave. So I want you to understand this morning the difficulties in some instances for people who have made a life for themselves in a foreign country to just leave their businesses, their investments because of attacks that are largely senseless based on the color of their skin or their nationality by people who ought to be their own African brothers and sisters. And that's why there's there's an intense call for the Nigerian government to have conversations with the South African government and for the South African government to take decisive action against this terrible and, horrible actions by certain people in South Africa, not all people. The other part of it, of course, is when they come back home, what is there for them? This is another big question that a lot of people have asked. Yes, the federal government has said they will resettle them, they will look after them, but we've heard stories in the past, whether it's Nigerians who are evacuated from Libya, who come back home, and there's really nothing for them to do. And that's why, for those who even try to find anywhere else but Nigeria to stay, it is down to the economic realities of people here. The fact that there are jobs to come back home, business terrain is quite difficult, and so starting a business is not, in some cases, the easiest of things to do. So in two ways, South Africa, fix your problem, but in Nigeria as well, make the country conducive enough for citizens to want to stay back, to remain, to do business, and to enjoy good quality of life. And that's on that. But like I mentioned, we'll have Fadishola at the airport to talk about the conditions of these people and perhaps give us an exact time when they would land here in Nigeria. But welcome home. Welcome to your land. This is your home. This is where you're a first-class citizen. Now, moving on to other stories around insecurity this morning, and this has dominated headlines in the last few days, weeks, and even months, and actually even years. Tomorrow is Democracy Day, and unfortunately, what will mar the celebrations of uninterrupted years of democracy since the return to democracy in 1999 would be the fact that a number of people are questioning what the dividends of democracy has been, especially as we look at insecurity this morning. Yet again, without hearing the release of the students in Oyo State or Borno State, another set of students have been kidnapped, and another vice principal has been killed. It now seems almost as if the teaching profession is now a dangerous job. It is almost as dangerous as taking on, as going to war, as it were, because teachers and students alike are not protected in a place that ought to be a safe environment for learning. This conversation has, a lot of people have postulated the reason for these attacks. There's a political spin in some instances. Oh, it's my political enemies. It is the political enemies of this government. Others have talked about the fact that the Safe School Initiative, which a lot of money was committed to, was not properly handled. And perhaps if we did not see the large scale of corruption that has belabored this particular initiative, we would not be talking about schools being invaded and violated in such a manner. Atiku Abubakar, presidential candidate of the ADC, has come out to talk about how this is not just an attack on lives and properties and the national unity of Nigeria, but it's a direct attack on education, and he is very correct. We have elaborated on that same point on this table. I have asked the question that currently students across Nigeria are supposed to be writing their SSCE. What is the fate of these students? It's not even about parents refusing to take their children to school based on fears that they don't know what will happen to them when they get to school. It is also the psychology of it and the state of mind of the students and what state they are in to write a promotional examination. We haven't heard anything yet from the Minister of Education with regards to this. Are we going to take the SSCE WAEC results for this session, despite what is happening in the country and the state of insecurity, especially with targets on our schools? What is the alternative for students? The other part is that how do we ensure that teachers are protected in this profession that already they are not well compensated and remunerated for? There's been a lot of calls for national emergency, this and that, but the most important thing is that there are many people who have failed in their duties. And I'll end on this point. Yesterday, we had Senator Nwaboye come on the show, and he had asked some certain questions. And I said, this question is to the wrong people. The people that the Senate ought to be questioning, or the lawmakers, is the executive. They have oversight function. And that is why we've often talked about the dangers of a rubber stamp assembly. But there are many areas that we can talk about. But this is the situation we find ourselves this morning. Rufai, your take on these stories.
Okay, I commend the security forces for what they were able to do in Zamfara, at least neutralize some bandits. But also, it is quite shocking that children that are there to write WAEC, just imagine how much those children have prepared, how much the school authority and the principals have prepared for this day. and they go in there to write their exams. And the exams are punctuated by bandits. And this has led to the loss of life. So where is the protection? Nigeria and some other countries of the world came together and they talked about something called the Safe School Initiative. The other day, people were talking and asking questions about even the accountability of the Safe School Initiative. But Ayo, what is even the Safe School Initiative when the government has not still been able to tell us who ordered the military to leave the school in Kogi where the girls were kidnapped? See, as long as we don't know the answer to that question, the fight against insecurity and terrorism will still be a farce. Because it is that answer that would unravel many things. Till today, we don't still know how the bandits or the terrorists got the SOS message that was sent from Woro community to the security agency. As long as you have that, Atiku can say declare a state of national emergency. See, when you say declare a state of emergency on something, it's a way to say push the blame around and nothing will work. Can you show me one thing we've declared state of emergency in this country that was solved? Right. I don't even like that word. Declare state of emergency. Is it today we've declared state of emergency of education? Yeah. Has education not become deployed? Have we not declared state of emergency of many sectors of the economy? Security, on food security? Yes. Are people not still hungry?
Yes, very true.
Are 63% of the population not put into poverty? Have we not declared state of emergency on every area? What has changed? So declaring state of emergency is political speak. The day we wake up is our morning. The day we are ready to solve this banditry and insecurity, you don't need to declare everything. We just have to see results. So if we can't answer those two vital questions I've asked, how did the residents of Woro that sent messages to the security authorities in confidence, and the security and the bandits said they got to know about it, how did that happen? So if we can't answer those questions, we are just moving back and forth. And that's why we see that Nigeria today is in a chaotic state as regards security. And we are not saying these things because we don't love the country. We are saying these things because, see, for those that they think they're in power today, they are not safe. Because if we can't fix this country now, when they come out, it affects them. Look at the Major General. When the Major General was in service, bandits couldn't attack him. But once he's out of service, he doesn't have the complement of the protection he has before. And look at it, he's attacked. Is that not an indictment that the former Major General of our country? But scratch, what am I even saying, Rufai? Sometimes I want to even slap myself. General Uba is savvy general in the military. Begged for help and he was killed. So what am I even saying? So it's going to affect all of us. Let's tell ourselves the truth. Because posterity will judge us. Our generals are being killed like chicken. So we are not ready. We are not ready. As far as I'm concerned, the day we wake up and we are ready to fight this insecurity, we will be seeing results. We know how to declare national emergency, declare national prayer, declare this, declare that. Look at the schools in Edo, shutting down because of the reports that came out that there's insecurity. So it has touched all of us now. At some point, we used to say it was far off. It has touched all of us now. It has come home to roost. But we are not seeing leadership. What are we seeing? We are seeing politicians playing politics. Why did they close school in Edo? Didn't Okpebolo say if they kidnap all of them, Aso Rock is still certain for President Tinubu? Did he say that? So why are they rushing to close school? Can see the country we live in. As regards those coming back, welcome from South Africa. Nigerian governments, at this point in time, I don't see why we can't start reporting authorities in South Africa to higher authorities, starting to name and shame them. I can't see why. Because it looks as if this xenophobia is a mindset thing by the South Africans. No matter how much you talk government to government, it's not going to work. So you need to start naming and shaming people. As they are declaring our own people pariah, we need to start in the international scene declaring their own people pariah. Because it looks like a safe spot. politicians cannot deliver dividends of democracy to people in South Africa, the first thing they go about is migrants. We know that politics, everybody plays it. We played it here. But anyway, when we played our own here, it was a reaction to what Kofi Busia had done in the past in Ghana. When things too were hard in Ghana, I said, oh, it was the migrants. Right. So we played that politics in the 80s when the government was failing in many things. Okay. But it's not done. It's not good. It's a bad one.
Very bad. All right, Dr. Bate.
Okay, I will try to link the stories mentioned in the headlines specifically to the analysis that I think is required. And it is as follows. Now, when the Northern Elders Forum and former Vice President Atiku Abubakar say that the Tinubu administration should declare a national emergency on insecurity in the country, I assume that the same way that President Tinubu said when President Jonathan was there as president, that the buck stops at the desk of the president, they are saying more or less the same thing. They are saying, Atiku Abubakar and the Northern Elders Forum, that they think that this administration should take this challenge of insecurity more seriously. They are suggesting that the government is not doing enough. And if you want evidence in that regard, look at the situation in the schools across the country. Within 3 weeks that students were abducted along with their teachers in Oyo State and in Borno State. You have had another attack in Kogi State where one teacher was killed along with 2 others, and 3 of the children were abducted. Just very fresh incident. And then, of course, the NUT, Nigerian Union of Teachers, has had to shut down schools. Teachers have also had to go onto the streets to complain about insecurity. It's not just teachers that are affected, other citizens are affected, be they former ministers or generals in the army or any other category of citizens. So what they are saying basically, we have made a point in that regard that nobody should politicize the insecurity in the country, but it is the truth, not so, that we need to do a lot more to be able to checkmate. When the military forces, the security agencies, when they make progress, we celebrate them, we salute them. But it's a reminder to say that, look, we still have a lot to do. But the question to ask is, these opposition figures, either it is Atiku Abubakar or the Northern Elders Forum, what suggestions are they making? It's not enough to just condemn and say, declare state of emergency. What should be the content of that state of emergency that they are calling for? I have not heard anything with regard to those ideas. It's only the National Assembly that is now saying they will pursue the objective of having a state police. I've already written an informed commentary, even if I'm the one saying so, on this subject, to say that, look, this is election season. Would they be able to collect the numbers mentioned in Section 9 of the 1999 Constitution with all the governors who have been saying state police, in order to appear politically correct? Would they be able to pursue it in a more meaningful, purposeful manner? Now, the second subject was about countryman Seriake Dixon, saying that nobody paid to get positions in the Nigeria Democratic Congress or to become consensus candidates. Specifically, he was referring to Peter Obi and Dr. Rabiu Kwankwanso. And he's saying that nobody is paying and that the party may have faced challenges because it took a very short time to be able to put the party together. However, the story is out there. We had a gentleman on this program from Imo State saying that, in fact, people were buying positions in Imo State primaries of the NDC. We have also had other persons who were saying that, you know, the process in the NDC that is supposed to be an alternative party is not as transparent as is being made out. However, countryman Seriake Dixon made the point that the party remains united and remains committed to democratic principles. But he also made a point that nobody should think that they are doing the NDC a favor. And in this regard, he was referring to both Peter Obi and Dr. Kwankwanso. And he said he himself could have been the president of the party, that the party decided to choose Peter Obi as consensus candidate should not lead to a situation where his supporters, known as obedients, some people in the narrative have referred to them as zombedients, should think that, Peter Obi is the messiah of the party and that he himself could have been, presidential candidate. But the bottom line is that, look, whether it's the opposition or the ruling party, Nigerians insist on internal democracy, they insist on transparency, they insist on accountability. But of course, it looks, as one famous character, I think it's Nyesom Wike said, that these other political parties projecting themselves as alternatives also have internal party crisis. Now, to the final question of Nigerians being evacuated from South Africa, arriving this morning, as we have been told, where Kemebi Ebiemfa, the spokesperson of the Foreign Ministry, was on television yesterday. Arise News, I think, prime time, I think, saying that all the arrangements have been made and those Nigerians who have signed up to be brought back to their country, first batch, 278 of them, will be assisted, well taken care of, rehabilitated by the Nigerian government. We have been promised 5 batches. We hope that all the 5 batches, over 1,000 Nigerians saying that they will come back to their country. There should be a moral story there. That if our country is properly organized, then nobody will need to go and seek electricity supply and water supply and good health care in other countries of the world. So that's the residual point about that. However, today, South Africa and Mexico will be playing the first match at the Azteca Stadium in Mexico City. I urge all Nigerians to support Mexico so that we don't even have a situation whereby South Africans will say, well, these Nigerians have come again, they are doing their job for them, and there will be another wave of xenophobic attacks. I think we will be safer to support Mexico in this opening match of the World Cup.
Many African countries are supporting Mexico again.